Good evening to everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. I'm absolutely delighted that you could be here. I'd like to first let everyone know that this evening's webinar is being recorded, and if you can please put yourselves on mute and pop your camera off just for the moment, even if you're presenting. So this is now our third annual Celebrating Community Achievements webinar, and one of my favourite events every year. A very special welcome to those of you who might be joining us for the first time this evening, and maybe this is your first time hearing about the ESB Wind Farm Community Funds. This really is an opportunity to celebrate the inspiring community and voluntary work going on across the country, and also recognise the support given by the ESB Wind Farm Community Funds to the communities. We're going to hear from 9 community groups who are going to tell the story of their projects, and I hope that you'll feel as inspired as I have listening to their stories about the groups and their projects. But before we hear from the presenters, I would like to firstly introduce you to Ryan Howard. Ryan is the CEO with CCAD Partnership, and here to give you a little background on CCAD and how we're involved with ESB Wind Farm Community Funds. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Elaine, and thanks for everybody for first of all for attending, those who are here, and for those who are presenting this evening. It's a special evening, as Elaine has just said, and it came out of I suppose this format came out of that frustration that we were all feeling in the middle of COVID of having so many great stories happening around the country, but just having a difficulty of sharing those. So the webinar was born from that time. So out of that stress and out of that whatever challenge came this wonderful event that gets us an opportunity to listen across the country to the work that's happening and to the experiences of people and what people are doing to maximize the use of these funds. And I suppose one of the key things that I'd just like to say, I suppose, on behalf of CCAD is, first of all, for those who don't know much about us, we are a local development company. We have nearly 30 years of experience now operating and delivering leader and social inclusion funds down in Cork. And a number of years ago, and I suppose with all of that comes that experience of knowing the difficulties and challenges that are there in terms of fundraising for communities. But I think the whole process has been really positive in the context of working with the community bit of funds, because it has given us a chance to show and to work with communities in terms of how these funds themselves can become, like I often say in presentations, they can either become gold or they can disappear in front of us. But for all that we work with and the communities around us, and these communities here, with the help of the ESB, what we've been able to do is share these stories so that more and more people can see the value of how to maximize the use of these funds and how these funds can really, really work well, I suppose, at the end of the day. Because, again, I suppose back to it again, it's so difficult to raise funding. It's so difficult to make applications for funding. It is always a challenge. And I suppose part of that is also about making sure that those who are coming looking for these funds, they are putting the effort in to ensure that the right places get the funding, the right people get the funding, and do the right thing. I hope that makes sense to everybody there, because we don't want to do is waste this. We do not want to, not have the opportunities that this can create, and we are passionate about it. You can see that from our work, and I hope you'll hear a lot of it coming through this evening as well from the communities. You will see it coming through the communities, but behind it, we ourselves are a charity, we're a community organisation, we are volunteer-led. Just like any and all these projects, we have a board of management who come together every month, and more often they're with us throughout and helping us to shape how we design and work as well. So I hope that it's reflected in how we communicate, how we talk with people, how we share, how we sometimes share bad news as well as good news in terms of an application. Sometimes people aren't successful when they make an application. But hopefully, and this is something I got asked, I suppose, back 28 years ago, is that no matter what we do, we encourage, we give hope, and we support, and always give people a second chance and third chance to keep going. Because people, especially at the community level, everybody's here to do the right thing, and we appreciate that. To wrap up, I suppose two sets of thank you. First of all, to my own team in CCAD. We have a team of nearly 50 people now, spanning across various different types of work, community development, employment, sports, ecology, environmental programs, and this area here in terms of community development funds reflects a whole load of those. And to say a huge thank you to Elaine in particular and Eilish as well, in terms of their support to the projects themselves. They're the front end of our whole community bit of fun, and I can't say enough of thanks to the two of those guys for what you've done in the last 12 months and before that for the last number of years. We're 9 years actually with ESB. This is our 9th year, and Frank Kelly is here with us as well. And I want to particularly say thank you to ESB because they have led this as well from an industry point of view. We now hear of many, most, if not all, renewable energy companies are investing through community building funds. But back 9 years ago, it wasn't the case. And ESB were very much leaders in the process. And we're so happy that, first of all, they selected us 9 years ago to work with them, but also that they've continued to, I suppose, recognize that what we're doing is really adding value, is hopefully bringing about the kind of impact that we could only imagine when we started out 9 years ago, and the kinds of linkages that we all hope that we can create through these. So just say thank you again, and you back to Elaine.
So it's over to you there, Eilish, if you're ready.
Yes, perfect. So we're starting tonight with Grousemount Wind Farm in County Kerry. Grousemount is in the southeast of Kerry, located between Kilgarvan and Coolay, and it comprises of 38 wind turbines, which generates up to 114 megawatts of electricity that is supplying 70,000 homes in the country. And from the Grousemount Wind Farm tonight, we have Aoife Granville from Cruinniú na Flute, which is their annual festival celebrating the Irish flute and music. So Aoife, I'm just going to put the spotlight on you there, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you.
I'm not able to put my video on, but that's okay for me. But unless you can put it on, I'll yap away anyway.
Okay, just one moment there. I'm the function 2. You cool. I'm your host now, so I was hoping I could see you, but we're having some technical issues there.
Here we go.
We see you there now, Aoife.
Thanks, everyone. So my name is Aoife Granville. I'm actually from Dingle, but the Flute Festival, Cruinniú na Flute, is based in the Muscree Gaeltacht, just over the border in Cork, and very close to Grousemount. The festival sounds probably, to those of you that wouldn't be involved in traditional music, very niche, I guess. And it began in around 2005, and initially it was put together by two of the most renowned traditional flute players we have in the country, Conal Ógrád and Hammy Hamilton, who are both based in Coolay. And because of funding actually at the time and the difficulties surrounding getting funding back then, it was just a biannual festival for the first couple of times it was run, and began to develop and grow, and I guess a little bit more funding got available. The festival is run in April, just after Easter, and it's run from a Wednesday to the Sunday after Easter. And I guess it's a very particular sort of festival based on international models of flute festivals and wind festivals, folk festivals. And it's a very intense few days. So people come, most of our participants are international flute players, and they come to work with and to do workshops with, masterclasses with usually about 6 of the top traditional flute players in the world, I guess. Everyone comes to Coolay, Balavorna, that region, for the few days. And we also, all the teachers that we invite, I suppose, are considered masters of the traditional Irish flute. We sometimes incorporate other traditions in that as well, classical flute players, Breton flute players, etc. And it's really the only chance, certainly nationally, as a flute player, to work with such renowned artists in such a particular setting. It started out with 50 participants and it has now grown. We actually sold out our workshops this year in 24 hours. We cap it at about 70 for the workshops, but then many that don't get into the workshops come anyway, if that makes sense. But mostly they're international participants, as I said. So our regular participants, many of them come from Australia, New Zealand, various parts of the United States. We have regulars from Moscow, throughout Europe, and then many that travel nationally as well. Here you see in the picture 2 of our showcase. Part of the festival is concerts as well, and we showcase 2 up and coming flute players every year, and this is a huge showcase for them. Flute players in their 20s and 30s, I guess that it's a big platform for. So alongside our established flute players and teachers, we have the younger ones, and I guess there's a very nurturing environment for all of those as well, which we like very much. We are lucky to be in receipt of some arts grant funding, but that has very particular criteria around it in terms of the artists and creatives and that sort of thing. So the Grouse Mount funding for us is great because I guess in particularly in the last few years, because of all our international people coming to us, I guess we felt that we weren't maybe showcasing enough of what was wonderful around Coolay. And here you see pictures from the Top of Coombe, Ireland's highest pub. I think it actually is the highest pub. I know there's a lot of people that vie for that, but and we have started this sort of tradition of, with the funding, of showcasing local artists. They don't have to be flute players. To the left there you see the O'Maher family. So Coolay is a Gaeltacht speaking area, and I think it's important for especially our international attendees to realise that and to get to, I suppose, experience some of that wonderful rich culture. So we bring together a lot of local artists there, singers. They get a little lesson in Irish, and the Top of Coombe, which is brilliant, it's in Kerry, so they also get a bit of taste of the kingdom as well as being in Cork, Gaeltacht. It's just a great environment for that. So the Grouse Mount funding for us has enabled us to do extra stuff outside of our classes, basically, which has been hugely beneficial. And I guess in looking towards next year for us, and we're lucky enough to have secured some funding, which will enable us to do like events, but we're also bringing some international teachers next year. Michael McGoldrick from Manchester, who performs traditional music, but also works with Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. We have some Breton flute players coming and that sort of a thing. So it's a festival that has developed considerably since its beginnings in 2005, and is seen really as, for any flute players in the tradition or for anyone that are interested in flute, really one of the, we're very proud that it has become one of the kind of dates in the calendar. But also, I suppose the funding we receive enables us to give a really good taste of the culture and local community side, the kind of the Irish language culture, the traditional music of the area, and just give a sense of place as well, to especially our international people that visit us. So I don't think I had anything else to say. I'm sure people think it's very niche, all right, but we love it. And there are actually, it's sort of built on a model, an international model. As I said, there are 2 international festivals for flute. This is the 3rd now, I guess, and we're established as that. They're called Boxwood, and they happen in Nova Scotia in Canada and in Nelson in New Zealand. So we're very we're part of that sort of team now, and would share some ideas with our international festivals as well. So Tommy Donavich as an takeíocht the Vaimid of Grouse Mount. We're very grateful to the to everyone at Grouse Mount and CCAD for the support, and we do get a lot of support as well from the girls, and especially Eilish, which is very much appreciated. I hope you know that, Eilish. So Gurmila Mahagriff, and I hope that gives you a taster of our festival.
Aoife, thank you very much there. Aoife, would you see if you can turn myself back into host.
Yeah.
Or yeah, that would be great. Sorry, audience, we're just having some technical hiccups tonight.
Thanks, Aoife. It's okay, Alicia. I don't mind going without the camera.
Oh, that's a shame, Elaine. We all love seeing you there.
And thanks so much, Aoife. They're gorgeous pictures. Very talented bunch there down your way. So thanks so much. That was a lovely presentation. So next we're going to go off to Castlepook Wind Farm, Castlepook in County Cork. And the wind farm is located at the Ballyharra Forest with 14 turbines and generates enough power for approximately 17,000 households annually. Now, over the years, we've seen some fantastic projects coming through from a wide spread of community groups across the area near Castlepook. And we have this evening with us Timo Shimmers, and Timo is representing Ballyharra Mountain Bike Club. Thanks, Timo, if you're ready.
Yeah, super. Thanks a million.
Thank you
for inviting me on. I'll on the video, I'm happy either way. I can work ahead if you want, or if you want to put me on the video, I'll click the button. But
I'd say we'll power ahead.
I'll keep going. So great stuff. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
So what I'm going to do is just give you an overview of a little bit about, explain a little about what we do in Team Ballyharra. As Elaine said, we're a mountain bike club based in the vicinity of the Castlepook Wind Farm. Who we are, what we do, and how we benefited from the excellent support we've had from the ESB Castlepook and from CCAD. So just to introduce myself, Timo Shimmers is my name. I'm a part of Team Ballyharra for probably the last 10 years or so. The club was established in 2010, so we're about 13 years in existence on the back of the Cuilcha investment in the area and building of mountain bike trails. Mountain biking has been quoted as being the fastest growing sport in Ireland. It's definitely up there, and is a fantastic outlet for people, young, old, male, female, to get out, get some exercise in the forest, and we definitely have a great facility in Ballyharra to enable us to do that. So if you move on the slide deck, I'll just give you a little bit more detail on the actual Team Ballyharra and the club. So this is just a picture taken from a few months back. That's great, Elaine. That's a spectrum of you'll see some of the members we have. We have some 12-year-olds, we have some almost 60-year-olds in the picture there as well. Just a few folks from the club just after we organised an event. And as I mentioned, around for 13 years, and we hope to be around for a lot longer. On the next slide, I'll talk a little about the showcase event that we run once a year. So Aoife spoke about a showcase event that they have in our space. Our event is called 2 Enduro. It's an innovative event. It's very unique in that we have an event where 2 riders race together. So it's all about the teamwork. And you can see here we have two riders, and their timing, the way that they work together and is really important, because their combined time is their race time. That event attracts over 200 competitors or riders every year. So it's one of the bigger events in the country. We're really happy we've been able to run it during COVID, and with the help of ESB Castlepook, and we're located within a couple of kilometers. Where this picture was taken is probably 2k from the Castlepook Wind Farm, and with the help of CCAD, from Elaine, from Ryan, from the full team, we've had some excellent support. We've been able to invest and purchase a state-of-the-art timing system, that's enabled us to time this unique event, and has got great feedback from riders. And this coming year, we are planning to run Ireland's very first carbon neutral mountain bike event. So that's something that no one else has ever done in the country. We started our research into the project, and and it's really with the help of the funding that we've secured with Elaine's support, is going to enable us to do that. So we already have a plan in place, and we're going to make sure we do everything to make it the very first carbon neutral mountain bike event, which would be a great milestone for us, and showing our connection with the environment, with the ESB, with what CCAD's values as well. So I think that's something we're really looking forward to next March. As part of the club, we're very vested in supporting some of our young talent. So I'll just call out 3 names. We have Leah Mansell in the picture. So she's a national enduro mountain bike champion for the last 10 years. So every year she has won that, and you can see her Irish stripes on her left arm. So we're very proud of Leah's achievements. Shane O'Sullivan has represented Ireland as well and represented our club. And then last but not least, Oisín O'Callaghan. It's a name some of you may know or may not know, but Oisín was Young Sports Star in 2020 nationwide, so as per RTE's national award. But only last weekend, even since I've written this slide, Oisín won a world downhill race in the US last weekend. It's the first time an Irish rider has ever done it. And we're very proud of Oisín's connection with the club. Oisín's dad was one of the founding members of the club, Chris O'Callaghan. So as part of what we're doing, we're supporting some of our young talent. They're coming through. They're representing our community, but they're also representing our country, which is fantastic. We're also supporting the not so young talent, and you can see here we have a couple of riders who represented and were very successful in the over 50s category in one of our recent races. And it's all about, you know, some of our regular spins, getting everyone out, having some competition, having some fun. That's really very important part of what we do all the time. So we're also very vested and want to make sure we're giving back to our own community. Here's an example where we've collaborated with the local school. We ran an event at the end of last year, and the school supported us in terms of the running of the event, helped us with marshals and helped us with the organising prizes, etc. And in return, we were able to make a donation to the school, which has going towards some of their funding. So we're trying to make sure we're well connected also in what we can do to the local club to the local community when we get the opportunity. So I think I just one more slide to wrap it up. So no, actually I have two more slides. So this is just before my final slide, is an example of some of the fun that we have. We generally organise a once a year trip abroad. We've gone to Italy a number of times. We've been to Spain. We've been to France. So we're given that opportunity as well to have some fun abroad when we're out mountain biking. So my final slide, just in summary, a massive thank you to the CCAD team. Elaine, you've been instrumental for us and brilliant in terms of the application process, making it very easy, very clear guidance, and always available if we have any questions around it. So that's been really, really appreciated personally and from the club. So thanks very much, Elaine. And Ryan, I know you're behind the scenes and supporting Elaine, so appreciate all your support, and you've a great team there. And I'd like to obviously thank the ESB Castlepook. As mentioned, we have to be the closest club or organisation to the Castlepook wind farm. We cycle within a couple of hundred meters of it on a regular basis. So without that support, we can't do any of this as well. And as mentioned, our big objective in the next 6 months will be to have Ireland's first carbon neutral mountain biking event. And we're really looking forward to that. And just my final point would be, take the opportunity to have some fun, get out there, enjoy the natural surrounds that we have. With that, I'll hand back to you, Elaine, and thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much, Timo. And I'm going to hand over to Leish, and thank you for your lovely comments. They're very much appreciated.
Elaine, thank you very much. That was really interesting to hear. So now we're going to hear from Kappa White Wind Farm. Kappa White is located on the southernmost tip of the Hollyford Hills. It lies immediately north of Kappa White Village and is approximately 17 kilometers from Tipperary town. The Kappa White Wind Farm has 17 wind turbines, and it was commissioned in 2017. So tonight we're going to hear from John Ryan from the Glengar Residents Group. John,
Hello,
Hi.
Elaine,
Great.
and hello, everybody. Can people hear me?
We can hear you perfectly, John.
And I'm perfectly happy to go incognito.
Okay, great.
So maybe I'll just start off with just Glengar is from the village of Kappa White, and as I live there, for people who might know the area, we would be on the area whereby our residence group comprises 3 roads. It comprises that Doon Hollyford line, which is probably the main road, and then we have a very scenic wood road, and we have a hill road where you can go up quite high, and where we've done some work as well. So and where the wind farm is, we're at the hill from the village of Capawhite, so we're looking directly across at Capawhite wind farm. Elaine, if you're okay to go on to the next. And I suppose just to say that the actual residence group had been set up about 7 or 8 years ago. We have an area of quite considerable, very popular with walkers and cyclists, but it was become a bit neglected. And specific examples of the work we carried out. So commencing with, we restored 2 wells in the area. The one on the left-hand side there, Cross Isle Well, is on the aforementioned hill road. And restoring this was kind of the brainchild of my own dad, who's in his early 90s. And he's old enough as well, being the main source of water for a group of 8 houses on the hill road. All these houses are now completely gone without trace. And this particular well was completely covered over and effectively invisible. And so has all certain parts of the history townland here. Right, was down. We've now restored it to its former glory. Look at slide, please, Elaine.
Yeah, that's the biodiversity one up there now, John. Is that okay for you?
I'm not seeing it yet, but I'll keep talking.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So, as I said, our region was and is very popular, particularly along the Wood Road. So lots of walkers, including lots of young children. So we felt it was a nice idea to draw more attention to the wild and fauna in the area. So we erected 2 wildlife signs as shown here on either side of the Wood Road. And as I said, I think it just brings to life a lot of what we have right in front of us in the area, but as I said, often take for granted. So that's that one. And the next one then is another part of our heritage in Glengar was the Glengar hurling team, who played their home matches in what was locally just known as the hurling field. Now that field is just turned into grassland in the past 40 or 50 years, because the heyday of the Glengar Hurling Club was in the 1950s and 60s. And in fact, the height of their success came in 1957 when they won senior hurling championship. And the picture here shows one of the stalwarts of that team, Harry Bradshaw, standing proudly beside a commemorative plaque that we erected there last year. And again, if you look closely, you can see the wind turbines there on the top of the hill in the background. So we're quite close to them. So moving on again. As I said, our area comprises of kind of 3 roads. We're back to the main Doon Hollyford Road here. So we planted some daffodils and some nice shrubbery along this road. This I suppose, in terms of our plans going forward, it will be to do some more along this road where space permits. But again, the overall effect really has been to really spruce up and freshen up an area that, as I said, had become a little bit neglected and overlooked over these years. So I hope that gives you a flavour of the kind of restoration work that the residents group were able to accomplish over the past few years. And a big thank you to ESB and to the Cap White Wind Farm for being able to facilitate us with that work, with their funding. And like the previous speakers, I'd like to give a big shout out to Elaine, to Eilish, and to Ryan, and all the people in CCAD who have been very good to deal with, and I suppose have been a big part of facilitating us all this work to date. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. That's brilliant. And well done to all the volunteers. Glengar and Knocknavar are looking absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, John. So next we're going to go to Donegal. We're going to go to Crockaheny Wind Farm. And Crockaheny is located in Ballymagan, Buncrana, absolutely gorgeous part of the country. And there's some great work there being completed by local community groups. Here to speak with us this evening on behalf of Muff Community Development Co-op Society is Mura Mlaughlin. Mura, if you're ready there, thank you.
Yeah, good evening, folks. I don't think I'm going to be, you're going to have to look at my mug for the evening. So you've spared that much. I'll carry on anyway. I just want to thank CCAD and the ESB Enercon for the invitation to present a little story of our particular journey to date. Muff Village is located right on the border with Northern Ireland. It's about 6 miles from the centre of Derry City. It's in Donegal, and it claims distinction as the start point, end point of the Wild Atlantic Way. Now, for a while, Kinsale was getting all the limelight, but we're beginning to take some ground back on that one. It also acts as a gateway, one of 2 gateways to the Inishowen Peninsula, and the start point of an iconic touring route, the Inishowen 100. The population in our village and area has grown 4-fold since the millennium. And while that is very much appreciated in some ways, because a lot of communities in the west of our county, Donegal, and even in the west of Inishowen, are losing people. In our case, we have an influx of people, a lot of them from the city and from the near city areas in Northern Ireland. However, the residential provision was there, the footpaths, the street lighting, all of those facilities were there. No one thought about provision of social and community infrastructure. Now, there had always been a very active community in the village and area, and that was a major asset, and it remains a major asset for the future. If you look at 2000, in the year 2000, the local GAA club, Meath Padraig, Iskehin, the local soccer club, Quigley's Point Swifts, neither of those had a home. They were peripatetic. They moved house or moved home every so often as fields became available. Now, each of those have long-term homes with pitches, clubhouses, and a stand in one case developed. And the Red Cross also has the Donegal headquarters located in this village. The background really to our organization was an identification of a gap in the provision of those facilities and services. Muff Community Development Co-op is an umbrella group for 11 affiliated voluntary and community organizations that are active in the Muff area. And our raison d'etre is to provide provision of community facilities and services to address gaps that are in those areas. The co-op was formed in 1995. It's a cross-community charitable cooperative, and it grew out of that famous, now famous community spirit, which had been nurtured and enhanced over 20 years by the Muff Youth and Sports Festival. They also had a little nest egg, which helped when it came to the acquisition of facilities and developments. It's inclusive in our approach. We welcome everyone who uses the village, be they residents who grew up here, visitors who travel through, or new residents. And currently, we have Ukrainian people living very close to the village, and they contribute to community life, as do some East European people who arrived after 2004. All of those are made welcome. The experience with the Wind Farm Community Fund really goes back to the application probably was made in 15, but the first money started flowing in 16. And we have never been beneficiaries of great amounts of money from this fund, but the value really is the community ethos around the fund, the simplicity in making applications, the support from Elaine, Eilish, and CCAD, and the flexibility that that fund allows, where things don't go according to what was written on the application form. And we have experienced that, we benefited from that a number of times. And I think it's obvious that CCAD has the heart of the community in mind in the administration of this particular fund. I am familiar with the other work that CCAD delivers. The amount of rewards really are outside of the pure monetary value. You might see on screen that was the first CCAD wind farm money that came, and we had just opened a community park, including the playground, and the road, the entry into it, the driveway was still hardcore, as was the car park. We managed, after a couple of years, to get enough money from Donegal County Council to surface the car park, but we were short. And up steps the Wind Farm Community Fund. I think it was €2,000, which was required to do that job. Since that, we've moved on. We've rarely made an application and not been successful. I think in the early days, we probably had the field to ourselves to some extent, in that other community groups weren't making applications to the Crockahini Wind Farm Fund. However, we've spread the word, and there's a little more competition there now, which is good. We've moved on. I suppose our thinking and our development has moved on, and can be traced through the various projects that have been funded, from Tarmac in 16 to LED lighting in 22. And I think probably the highlight of 23 was the LED lighting, which hasn't been done just yet, but we have the contractor in. I think the foundation really for the future of this organization is environmental sustainable development. And to that end, the Wind Farm Community Funds assisted with the preparation of an audit of all our community buildings, and that has been done, and it'll provide a model for future development and fund making. The organization itself is a social enterprise, and I think a very important model for sustainable communities and community development. Inishowen would have a reputation for progressive social enterprises, and I think that maybe reflects the fact of a lack of statutory development or commercial development. One, because of the difficulty of providing services in remote areas, and the private enterprise find it less than profitable to provide the services that we provide. But the secret to this, I think, is a need to harness the goodwill, ideas, passion, skills that local people have, and continually involve the local community in terms of feedback, planning, etc. And then assess the needs based on that and attempt to address them through funding. Now, it may be external funding, such as the wind farm funds, town and village renewal, local leader funds, or it may be a contribution from the local community in terms of fundraising. But the most important contribution that a social enterprise operating in a rural area relies on are the commitment of volunteers and their contribution. We've probably all heard of cost-benefit analysis. I would suggest that maybe we should be thinking contribution benefit analysis, because the services and facilities that we provide, and some you may have seen, the Muff Community Park has a playground, games area, covered activity area, green space, and that will generate income for this organization and for the local community. I'll finish soon. Just one reference that I think Ryan made earlier to the whole idea of distance communication during the COVID pandemic. I would also say that there have been COVID positives out of that. It is now acceptable to work remotely. And for rural communities such as ours, that is a benefit in that people don't have to go away. The brain drain has been slowed a little, and they can work from home. Their families can remain in the area. Those families can contribute to community. And of course, the worker's brain remains local. To date, our social enterprise, which employs 2 full-time people, including the manager, and 5 part-time staff, supported by the Muff and District Community Services Program, and that's administered by Pummel. The money, I think, comes from the Department of Rural and Community Development. We do promote rural tourism. We encourage local businesses to operate. In fact, we lease one building to a local family who deliver a coffee dock welcome point there for visitors. We also raise funds for the operating costs of St. Mary's Community Hall, which was leased from the church, Catholic Church, and the operating costs for Muff Community Park. And we also operate as a legal entity to assist people who have very good ideas, very passionate about something like, say, the environment or biodiversity, but who may not be into the idea of sitting down and putting all the effort in to apply for funding. So we can access that funding and administer it for them. And that has worked in the case of Tidy Towns Initiative in the village, the biodiversity group, which formed only in the last couple of years, and the active retirement group, which has been going for 15, 20 years. I'm going to finish with the scene in front of you, and the question I would ask is, who makes it happen? And I won't delay you long, but that scene to me shows the cooperation, the collaboration, and the support of all the elements that we need to make our community sustainable. The crossing where the lights are was funded through the development of local housing projects. Those developers donated funds to put that crossing in place. The County Council put it in place. County Council also funded the wall, funded some of the signage, the information point board display, that was town and village renewal. The big sign at the back is actually to do with the Greenway, which has just been opened, and that will eventually connect this village with the centre of Derry City. And the flower baskets are funded via the Tidy Towns Initiative, public funding. In the background, you might see a dark area. It's actually a bus shelter, and that is a local business, a local commercial operator, who in return for the display of signage on bus shelters, he provides the bus shelter. The people that you don't see there are all the volunteers that make this happen. And I include people like the Tidy Towns volunteers who make sure that that street is clean when someone drives down it or walks down it.
You are a very, very busy bunch there. Lots of questions.
Elaine,
Sorry.
let's have a look at the green light. That's what I like to see when I make an application.
There you go.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope I wasn't too long.
Not at all. Thank you so much. That was so interesting. Thanks, Nora. I'll hand over to you there, Eilish.
Thank you, Maura, and thank you, Elaine. Maura, that was very interesting, and yeah, I'd love to go up to Donegal and visit you there. But from Donegal, we're going to go over to Arklow, to the Raheenla Wind Farm in County Wicklow, which is located approximately 8 kilometres from Arklow within the Raheenla forest. This wind farm was opened in 2016, and we have from the Killarney Ballyfad GA group, Peter O'Connor, who's going to tell us all about his GA club. Hello, Peter.
Hello, thanks for the introduction, and thanks to the previous speakers for their very interesting presentations. Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of Kyle and Nairn Ballyfad GA Club. So we're located actually in County Wexford. The Raheen Wind Farm is on the border between Wicklow and Wexford and overlooks our community. Our community consists of three population centres, three small population centres, and serves or consists of a population of about 2,500 people. I'm speaking on behalf of the GA Club, but I'm also involved in various other community development and tidy towns groups. So the history of the club itself there, you can see the picture of the community field and the all-weather pitch on the left-hand side, and the floodlights. So if you want to go on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so the major project, I suppose, funded, just a little bit about the history of the club, first of all. The club was founded in the early 1950s, won its first county final in 1967. The pitch that you saw in the previous slide was developed in 1974 by a voluntary committee, and 1974 was a difficult time to raise funds and do development. There wasn't the supports there are now, nor the money around. So it was a fantastic achievement. It was a permanent home for the club. The dressing rooms and a second pitch were added in 1998. The club plays senior football and currently ladies senior, and intermediate hurling has also played senior hurling. Has won 7 senior football championships and many other intermediate and junior grade, and also very active underage section. Number-wise, there are about 250 boys and girls and about 100 adults taking part. So it's a real hive of activity, and also about 50 volunteers then who coach and train and do all of that support work. I think that's just anybody who's interested in GA, you'll probably see a slide coming up in a little while. Our most notable claim to fame is we have Wexford's only football all-star, Matty Ford. So people who are familiar with GA might remember Matty in his prime, and I say we're very proud of that association. I say the project funded by the wind farm was the all-weather pitch. There's Matty down the bottom left, and some of the older generation and the new generation as well in the slide. But I say the all-weather pitch was funded by the Raheen Community Benefit Fund back in 2016. So it was opened in 2017. You probably saw a photograph there of we managed to entice An Taoiseach down to open it. He was also doing some other openings in the area. And it consists of an all-weather pitch, a floodlit all-weather pitch. It's got a hurling wall either end, so it's used for football training, hurling training, also for in the winter time for five-a-side soccer. And during COVID, actually, it was of great assistance because some of the activities that were permitted outdoor, some of the health and fitness activities that we had in our community centre were able to take place on the all-weather pitch. So it's proved a huge benefit, and as always, there's nearly always somebody there in the evenings. So I say we're very grateful to the ESB and the Community Benefit Fund for the funding. And what we availed of, and some people may be familiar with this, was what's called the multi-annual funding, whereby there's an allocation over a number of years, so that a group can draw down a larger amount of funding, but that commitment is made by the fund. You can take that then to one of the social finance agencies. In our case, it was Community Finance Ireland, who will lend the full amount that's been allocated based on the commitment from the Community Benefit Fund. So it's just something for people that are thinking maybe of a larger capital spend on projects, something to be aware of. And I say, as well as there are some pictures of the all-weather pitch at night time, and then also the grounds also have a walking track there, which is lit. So it's a fantastic amenity for the whole community. When I was growing up in Clonlearn, it was a very rural, small rural community, and Dublin was a million miles away. We're now, thanks to improvements, transport and availability of transport and motorways, we're at the outer edge of the commuter belt. So we've had an influx of new residents over the last 15 or 20 years, and by having these facilities available, it's allowed them to become involved and integrate into the community, and it's worked very well for us. It brought in new blood and new talent to complement what was already there. That's the next project. As I say, initially the old changing rooms were built back in the late 90s. So the next project that we're looking at, and with assistance from the Community Benefit Fund, is new changing rooms and viewing area, and a community room also then for the community activities, because the grounds are part community field and part GAA. So that's something we hope to get working on within the next 12 months. And I say this project, the all-weather, and a number of other smaller projects throughout the community have benefited from the fund, and it's really really helped complement other fundraising activities, and we really appreciate the support we get from Elaine and Ryan and all the team in CCAD in terms of compiling the applications and working through them, and they're very patient. Some people are experienced in dealing with grants and projects, and others not so much. So they're very patient with their time, and really appreciate that. So I'm just looking at my notes here. I think that's all I have to say. So again, thanks for the invitation to present, Elaine, and thanks everybody for contributing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Peter. And thank you for touching on that multi-annual, because it can be, so important for larger projects. Now, if there's anyone listening in this evening that wants to get in touch and maybe hear a little bit more about that, there'll be a slide. On the last slide, there's contact information for CCAD. So you can note our details there and give us a call if that's something you want to have a little bit more of a chat about. But thank you, Peter. That was fantastic. So next, we're going to go to Carnsore Wind Farm. Carnsore is in County Wexford and located at Carnsore Point. Carnsore was the first wind farm completed on the east coast of Ireland, a gorgeous part of the country. You can see from the picture there, it's beautiful. And this evening we've Paul O'Keefe, and Paul O'Keefe is representing Yola Hedge School, if you're ready, Paul.
Yeah, how you doing, Elaine? Thanks very much again for the invite to present this evening. And just on a personal note, whenever I have visitors that come over to visit me, down to the wind farm is one of the places where we take them to, because it is such a beautiful spot, as you can see from that image just behind us there. It's right at the very tip of the coast, and the views from there are just amazing, and it is always windy there. My community centre group is called Yola Hedge School and Family Centre. We have a 5-acre site in a small rural village on the coast, just up from Rosslar Harbour in County Wexford. We've been around since about 2010, and the project that was funded last year was for our sort of resident band who rehearse in the community centre to visit the direct provision centre and 4 of the hotels where Ukrainian asylum seekers are staying. There's been the first group of asylum seekers that we engaged with came into the community just in 2018. And one of the hotels that had been empty for a good few years was suddenly filled with 40 male asylum seekers from Afghanistan, Syria, Sub-Saharan Africa, Pakistan, and India and South America. And when they came in first, our sort of group said, well, we should try and do something to try and help these people to settle and to start to build a community. So we went down one of the days with our own local development group, Wexford Local Development, and just just rather like I'm doing now, just explain to them what we do, that we have this farm, and how could we help them, or what could we do for them. And almost to a man and woman, they all said, give us something to do, let us come and work. And this was at the time when they came in first, they weren't allowed to work for about 6 months or so. And their allowance was, as far as I can remember, was about £35 a week, 35 euros a week. So they were basically impoverished in a hotel in rural Wexford with not very much to do. So we started to bring them down to the farm, and those pictures that you see there are the early parts of a community garden that we have. And they basically started this garden, and there was a picture there earlier on of the garden with gravel and so on in it. And that's what it looks like now. So without the input of these asylum seekers, we wouldn't have a community garden, and it is now our most successful community project. We just had an event there last weekend where we had, in the pourings of rain on Saturday, we had about 30 people down, just looking at the garden and seeing how they could get involved and how they're growing it and so on. So our project to go around to the asylum centres was in October, around this time of the year, coming up to this time of the year, is festival time in Wexford. We have an international opera festival, and so the whole town is buzzing with life. And what we thought we would do was bring some of this buzz basically into the sitting rooms of the asylum seekers, and then try and get the asylum seekers and the direct provision residents to go and visit each other in their centres, working from the philosophy that communities don't happen unless the work is put in to make these communities start to grow and start to coalesce and make links with each other, so that when they go looking for jobs or when they go looking for accommodation, they have links with each other. They have met other people, or if some of the Ukrainians meet some of the Syrians in town, they're able to say hello because they've met them and they've sat down with them and they've eaten with them and they've listened to music with them. And that is the purpose of our project. The image you can see there is, on the right-hand side, was a master carpenter from the Yemen who had to flee Saudi Arabia after living there for 40 years. And he got to Ireland and he was just desperate to do some carpentry work. And we have a large indoor skate park. And he came and helped us to reskin the ramps. They hadn't been skinned in about 10 years. That's, putting on a whole new layer of timber on them. So our trips out to the direct provision center and to the places under the hotels where the Ukrainians are staying. Another of the purposes of it was to sort of try to get over some of the barriers that are being deliberately created by a two-tier asylum system. And this is not the fault of the ones who are in the two-tier system. It is the fault of a system that is being created. And we were just trying to sit around and chat to people about how the fact that there is a two-tier asylum system should not be generating resentment between two sets of people who, no matter who or what they are both coming in as the most vulnerable members of society. And that's where, because they are coming in as vulnerable people, they should be joining together to combat the inequality of that two-tier asylum system. So the gigs that we did was, the band that we have on the farm is a sort of punk and rock and folk band. We sing a variety of stuff from Bob Marley to Bob Dylan and The Clash. And it's a type of music that, no matter where you're from, you have probably heard most of the tunes that we play. So it doesn't matter the language that you speak or the level of your language. Everybody knows a Bob Marley tune. Everybody knows a Bob Dylan tune. And that is the sort of strength of the band. And what the funding managed to do was to pay the musicians to go there. Because this is very important as well. I think that artists be recognized and paid for their work. And also to allow us to bring some stuff to particularly to Direct Provision Centre. Because what we did as part of the project as well was bring some, like we did our initial set of gigs in October, and then we had enough money to do another gig coming up to Christmas, and we brought Christmas gifts down for the kids in the community in the Direct Provision Centre. There was about 15 kids under the age of 16 in the Direct Provision Centre. And last year, and I think that's becoming the trend, that the hotel residents tend to get a huge amount of things from local charities and local groups who support them, and that is the way it should be. But the Direct Provision residents tend to get much less, and the officers in our local development company have to scramble around to try and get stuff for the kids for Christmas. So that was what we did with our funding. And again, as many of the participants have said, you can when you interact with an agency and with the funder, I often feel that I can sense what the tone of that organization is from how they interact with it, even through email. And I think the tone that you guys bring is the correct tone, which is positive and supportive. You're not acting as gatekeepers for the money. You're acting as people who are trying to cooperate with the communities to do something positive. And I do thank you for that. Thank you.
Paul, thank you very much. And I really love that project as well. I think anything involving music and social inclusion and getting everybody together is always wonderful. So from Yola, we're going to go to Tipperary again, and we're going to have Avril, who's going to present for Sunflower Montessori Community Preschool. Avril, I'm just going to unmute you there. Now, Avril, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself. Avril, are we there?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Avril, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good evening, everybody. So I am the manager of Sunflowers Montessori. It's a community-based preschool with charitable status in the village of Doon, County Limerick. We're in our current building since 1982, and prior to this, there was two ladies who set up an early years education service in the local community centre. They were given a room there that they could use, and eventually they moved up to the old monastery building that we're in now, starting out with one room, and then that grew as the amount of children that needed it grew. So today we're run by a committee of volunteers. We have a large wheelchair accessible building with capacity to cater for 44 children every year. We have 5 staff. We're very lucky. We have 3 preschool classrooms. We have a large play area at the front, and we actually have a lovely covered area at the back. So at the moment, the funding we receive is from ECC and NCS funding schemes, and all our expenditure comes out of this, including the wages. So that means that if any big building work comes up, it's next to impossible to fund it ourselves, to be honest. We really do have to look down the route of grants or donations, or it's just not, the money is just not there for it. So I began working in Sunflowers back in 2013, and in 2019 I took over as the manager. At the time we had 2 children who were diagnosed with autism, and I just felt that the service needed to be adapted to support their needs. So like that, I wanted to make the changes, but there was no money there. So we applied for the Cap White Wind Farm Community Fund to create a beautiful sensory room, as you can see here. So it has brought so many benefits to all the children in our preschool, and in particular to the children who have their diagnosis of autism. They can engage in it, and it's such a safe space, like, for them to engage in it mentally and physically. And it was really important to me, taking over as manager, that we really were committed to being inclusive in our service. So it was so important that we made the adaptations for the children that were in our service. So as I have said, our building is old, so of course maintenance is inevitable. Lately we had some water damaged ceilings, and it was mentioned in a TUSLA inspection that it had to be replaced in order for us to continue to be compliant. So at the time, a building blocks improvement grant became available through Pobble, but however, when I went for it, our application wasn't successful. So I was pretty desperate at this stage, especially when there are health and safety standards. We have to comply. So I chanced my arm really in applying for this grant again, and we were very fortunate that we were given most of the money for the ceiling. So really, if it wasn't for this grant, we would have had to close that classroom this year. We would have had to turn away the children who were already enrolled with us, and staff would have lost their jobs. So, I mean, it was just, I can't say enough about the grant, to be very fair. It saved people's livelihoods. So I'm extremely grateful for it. We hope in the future that we will be able to replace some other ceilings and do some more maintenance work. So I will be keeping an eye out for more grants as they become available. So again, I want to thank the Wind Farm Community Fund, CCAD, and the ESB, and thank you all for listening and sharing your experiences.
Thank you so much, Avril. I have a smallie who would absolutely love to be in your sensory room.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So next we're going to go to Derrybrine Wind Farm. Derrybrine is a small rural village on the slope of the Sleeve-Aughty Mountains, a beautiful part of the country, as you can see there. And we have a wide range of community groups in the area. With us this evening, we have Peter Strange. Peter's from Galway Mountain Rescue Team. He's going to tell us a little bit about their group and the invaluable work that they do. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Everyone can hear me okay, yeah?
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Peter.
Perfect. Okay, so if you want to move on to the next slide. So this is the team in action there. We'd be training in Connemara when this photo was taken. So if you want to move on, there's a few highlights here. So although we are Galway Mountain Rescue, we actually cover a very wide area. We actually covers both counties, Galway and County Clare. So you can see we cover from Letterfrack in County Galway down in Killaloe in County Clare, and that's how wide. Well, that slide there shows some of the incidents there in the last few years. So 12 in the Burn, 2 in the kind of Killaloe area, and then 45 in the middle of the 12 Bends and the Mount Turks there. So that's the area, the huge area we cover. Thankfully, we have volunteers based in all of those areas. So not just in the city, we have volunteers out west and volunteers just living very close to the Derrybrine Wind Farm itself. So here we are again training. This is so we practice all sorts of training. We don't just do this would be steep groundwork, but we'd also do a lot of search and rescue. Like we'd help with missing people searches. And actually, in this picture, it's a great picture because you can actually see 2 of the head torches that we've been able to provide our team members with the grants from the fund. So The team is entirely voluntary. I think we've got that information coming up here. So that's just one of the vehicles looking over the 12 bends there in Connemara. So if you move forward again. Okay, so this is the hood of the stretcher is something that we've been able to purchase with the community fund. Believe it or not, whilst the stretcher looks quite light, it's not. And when you put a person in that stretcher, it becomes very, very heavy. So to even carry a person off a mountain takes at least eight team members just to be on the stretcher, as well as a medic and a team leader, and as a minimum. So weight is really important to us, as well as patient or casualty safety. So this hood that we purchased, if you wouldn't mind going back one there, yeah. So the hood there that we purchased is made of a really strong precision molded polycarbonate plastic. The shield is capable of deflecting debris and rock fall from any angle when extracting the casualty. So what's great as well is it really protects the casualty from the conditions, and as well as that, we're able to see the casualty when they're being carried. So, and they're protected, they're safe, and they're visible too. So that was a great purchase by the team with the fund. If you wouldn't mind going on. Yeah, so this is the team in action. So this is some of the night work. Night work is incredibly tricky. In fact, we're moving into that kind of the darker nights at the moment. And again, the team is voluntary. We have the statistics there coming up, but a lot of the gear that the team actually have, they've all purchased themselves. So when we benefit from grants and funding, we're able to further equip the team with better equipment. So here's another picture of the team. We have a base operation, but again, like I say, we're not just search and rescue in bad weather. We're even called out to help in the local communities, ferrying people, moving food, anything that's needed. So, we're called on for anything and everything at any time of the day. So if you wouldn't mind going on. Yeah, that's a stretcher carry. So that's a visual on what it takes to carry one person down off a mountain. You can only carry that for a few meters, maybe 100, 200 meters, and we'd often have to stop, put the stretcher down, rotate around, move the weight from the left of the stretcher to the right of the stretcher, just to take the strain off the body. So it's a tricky job we do, entirely voluntary, free of charge, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if you wouldn't mind going on again. Yep, so that's us in operation. Again, we're covering a mass, moved on there. So that's us that's taking a stretcher down off of Cropatrick. So we support the local mountain rescue teams as well. So a few times a year, Mayo will call on us asking for assistance, and likewise we also call on Mayo when required to. So there we go. Okay, well, us in action again. The weather conditions aren't looking very good in this picture. I guess the torches that we've recently purchased are coming handy in a few hours time. So, and okay, another one. This is us actually. This is training. Whilst we do have a lot of call outs, whilst also attending call outs, we have to keep practicing our skills and training. So we train every kind of second Tuesday in and around Galway City and on the hills nearby. So there we go. Okay, I think that's just a nice picture of Connemara, where I'd like to be tomorrow. So if you go on. Okay, so just one other thing there, just going back, there were some statistics in, but we have approximately 35 active team members giving over 4,000 hours of service a year, all entirely voluntary. So any funding that we can get is really, really appreciated. And thanks very much for looking after us. There we go.
Fantastic. That was really interesting. And it's amazing that it's all run by volunteers. So thank you very much. So from Galway, we're going to go back to Raheenla Wind Farm, and we have Veronica Carr from Annacurra Community Playground who's going to speak now. Hi, Veronica.
Hello, how are you? Hello, everybody. It was lovely listening to everybody tonight. I just like to speak a little bit about, I'm representing the Annacurra Community Playground Group. As you can see in that picture there, we're in a small village in Wicklow, and where our playground is placed there, we overlook the Rahanley Wind Farm. And we're a small little village, and like that, we seen that our little village needed a little playground a few years ago, so we set up our community playground group, and we got funding for that from Leader. This was our first opening. This little area then was just a little dead area beside our playground, and there was always a need to have a little seating area in our village, because right opposite that little area is our church and graveyard, and then as you go past the playground, it's into our lovely wood. So we seen this little area that we thought would be really nice to put 2 picnic benches and do the nice grounds around it. So we applied to CCAT, and thanks to Elaine for all her support with the application. Everything they did for us Elaine made it very easy. I was on the phone to her all the time asking her questions, and nothing was a problem. So we thank you kindly for that. The main users here now of this facility is obviously parents that have children in the playground, but also our little area there is used by young and old. Anyone that's going for a walk in the wood might stop and just sit down and have a rest, have a chat. Anyone that's maybe even in the graveyard, visiting graves, might sit down and have a chat. And it's a real nice kind of feel of community, because young and old can meet here and just sit down and have a chat, enjoy the view. Right when you're sitting there in the picnic area, you can see the Rahanley Wind Farms, who we're very grateful to for the funding. We found the process very, 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 very easy. So thanks to you, Elaine, and CCAT for that. Because we had done Leader with the playground, and there was a lot of work involved with Leader, and so we definitely found this application a lot easier, and there was no problem at all. Our little area has made a massive difference in our community. As I said, it just brings everybody together, and it just adds that nice little area for the village. This was what we got last year. This year we put in for because I'm a part of the Tidy Towns as well, and we put in for funding for new tarmac on our community car park, our community hall car park, and that is another great success. So we are forever grateful. We would recommend anyone to put in an application to you to help support, because us as a small little village, we have great community spirit, and it's just always hard you're always looking for money to try and improve your little area. So this is just a little snippet of what we did, and we definitely are very thankful, as I said again, and we definitely hope to work with you all in the future as well. So thank you kindly. I don't think there's anything else. The pictures speak for themselves, so I don't think there's anything else. I think that's everything. So thank you kindly.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Last but not least, certainly. I love the idea that those little benches, such a simple project, kind of brings your younger community and your older community members together. Just such a simple little project, and it's just lovely to hear that that's working so well for you all.
Yeah.
Great playground, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Veronica. So we're almost to the end. So on behalf of CCAT and the ESB, I would like to say a very, very big thank you to all our presenters this evening for your time and your support putting this evening together. It's very much appreciated. And I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing about your community groups and your projects. Now, before I hand you over to Frank Kelly in the ESB, I'd just like to let you know that the last slide this evening will have contact information for CCAD partnership along with our website. And the website is a very useful resource. There's a wealth of information on there to help you along the way. But do also please feel free to contact us directly. The ESB Wind Farm Community Funds will reopen in early January 2024. And if you have any questions, if you'd like some advice with an application or maybe project ideas, please do give us a call. It's never too early to start planning, and we're very, very happy to help. So I'll hand you over now next to Frank Kelly, closing comments. And Frank is the ESB Wind Operations Stakeholder Relations Manager. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Elaine. I'm hoping you can hear me. You probably can't see me, but look, just this is the third year we've run this, and I'm blown away about with the passion and the powerful stories and slides. The quality of the projects is amazing, and it's something ESB is very proud to be part of, and we are delighted to be partner with CCAD in delivering this. So it's just amazing to see it. And I think the idea here, when we sat down and this came about, was to try and use the opportunity of, I suppose, empowering others and networking and building capacity of other community groups to try and reach the heights of some of the projects we've seen here. So that's what this is about. It's trying to, I suppose, deliver long-term social, economic and environmental benefits to our wind farm communities, and the projects you've shown there and the passion and the benefit are incredible. And so we really wish more people could see this, and obviously the idea here is that other people maybe contact some of the community groups that are less experienced, and maybe get the support from CCAD as well as the other community groups to develop their own projects, and that's what this is about. So we're very proud to be part of this, and this is, our community groups are part of our, I suppose, they're partners in what we're trying to do in terms of ESB and our renewable projects on our journey to reach a net zero society. So it's very important that our communities engage, and it's incredible the engagement we have, and appreciate it to all of our presenters, and thank you all for the efforts, the passion. The slides were excellent, and I'll be sharing that with the various boards and stuff internally, and our general staff will see some of the slides. So that's great. Thanks, of course, to CCAD, Elaine, as usual, Eilish too. Don't know if we could do this without you. You're really dedicated professionals in this, and your skills with, I suppose, bringing us all along, etc., are incredible, and so fair play, and Ryan, of course, supporting in the back, and we're very, very happy. This is our 9th year, Ryan, I think you mentioned, and we're looking forward to continuing the relationship. So yeah, look, that's I'm not going to keep you too late, but look, thank you so much for making this happen, CCAD and Elaine, etc., and thank you all for presenting. Very, very impressive. And looking forward to next year. It is the highlight, I suppose, from her, as Elaine said, it's the highlight of the community benefit funding year. So it's fantastic to see. So congratulations, everyone. That's it for me.
Thanks so much, Frank. It's our Oscars a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is our Oscars. I like it. Yeah, I like it.
So thank you everyone so much for joining us. I'll officially close this evening's event, and thank you for bearing with us through our little IT issues. I'm going to leave this slide up just for a minute if you'd like to take a note of the website or the contact information. And as I said, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions after this evening or anything in general, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you, everyone.